Welcome to the speaker series on A Shotglass of Recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. You get a house, you get a car, then you start thinking that's all you are, but you don't know the truth. So let me spell it out for you. Now I got your attention, now there's a start. Now sit and listen to my favorite part. Life's been giving us some clues. The answer lies inside of you.
Welcome to A Shotglass of Recovery, the speaker series. I'm your host, Lisa M. This is where we share powerful, real stories from the speakers of AA Solution Seekers Toronto, my home group. People who are living the solution and walking the path of recovery one day at a time. If something you hear here resonates with you, we invite you to show your support by dropping $1 or $2 into our PayPal virtual basket. It helps us keep carrying the message and making these recordings available to others who may need them. Now let's get into today's speaker.
Thank you very much, Heather. I was hoping for more tears and elation in introducing me, but maybe at the end. I'm Sara. I'm an alcoholic. I was so honored when I was asked to come and share at this meeting. I'm always honored and amazed that in this program we have the opportunity to share the worst and the best of ourselves. And what an honor and a privilege it is for me to be able to be here with you guys to do that. Bear with me. It's Friday, as you know, in case anyone didn't know that. Surprise, it's Friday. And sometimes by the end of the day, Friday, my tongue gets a little twisted. I talk quite a bit for my work, and so bear with me if I go too fast or don't make sense. So 45 minutes, you guys, you get to hear a lot about me then, which is awesome. I'll start really at the beginning. Like many of you, not everyone, but many grew up in a home where alcohol was present. And so for me, the use of alcohol was normal. It was, at least it seemed that way as a child. It was an always present companion at the dinner table, at cards nights with my parents' friends, camping, going for walks, walking the dog, hanging out in the backyard, building fences. Alcohol was just always present. And so it wasn't something I thought about or something I was shocked by its presence in my childhood. Some of the earliest pictures even of me as a baby, there's beer bottles on the coffee tables, and it was just a very present thing in my life as a child. My father was an alcoholic in active addiction my entire life, and pretty much most of his. And as we know, all the things that come along with that. So home as a child was chaotic at best, unpredictable. My father was either working or drinking. And so that was my experience as a kid. He was unable to be present as a father. The middle of 5 children. I won't get into who's the parents of what, because you would need a diagram for that. Some are my dad's, some are my mom's, and some are my mom's and dad's. I am one of the ones, obviously, along with my sister, of my mom's and dad's. And during that time, from a very young age, I was also, although my father was emotionally unavailable, I was also daddy's little girl, pining for his attention. Some of my earliest memories were running to the door to take off my dad's work boots. I recall now, looking back at an early age, my joy came from something outside of me. It came from that connection with my dad, or seeking, I should say, that connection with my dad. There were periods of violence, police involvement. My mom was, of course, emotionally distraught a lot of the time and hardly able to manage her own mental health and her own emotional state, let alone help us navigate those pieces. Now I can say with a good conscience and with full honesty, my parents did the absolute best they could with what they had. For a long time, I carried resentment over my childhood and over how they showed up. My earliest memory of trying alcohol would have been 3, 4 years old and drinking out of the empties. that my dad left around, which is disgusting now when I think about it, because there probably was a lot of backwash in that, which is horrific when I think about it. But I don't remember being turned off for sure by the taste of it. I was intrigued. Again, it was a very normal thing. And that was my existence. I remember waking up, people passed out around our house, just lots of unpredictability. We were living out in Calgary, Alberta. I'm in London, by the way. Not quite as cool as Toronto, but it's almost there. Halfway between Toronto and Detroit. And so we were living in Calgary at the time. And so at 8 years old, along with my dad's alcoholism, I suspect he also struggled with other isms. And he decided to move on from his marriage with my mom. And so we moved from Calgary, which was all I knew, here to Ontario when I was 7, 8 years old. And at that time, it was again just myself and my older sister and my older brother. We moved to Ontario from, again, a life that was very normal and familiar. And I had confused that with safety. It felt safe because it was what I knew. When we moved here, we moved from what seemed like seemingly we had a home, we had cars, we could eat out. And then we moved here and my couldn't afford anything. I remember hearing all of the time, "Oh, sorry, we can't afford it." Food was we always had food, but it wasn't a lot. And so there was always a minimalist, a poverty mindset in our home. And now looking back, it quite literally is because we were living in poverty. My mom had another child at that time, and I was taught my dad was the villain and we were the victim. There was no compassion at all for what he was experiencing. And I understand there wasn't a knowledge, there wasn't an understanding of what was happening for him. And my mom was hurt, and then thus we were hurt. And so we were quite poor. And my mom was completely not available. And I remember even at that time, 8 years old, 9 years old, seeking attention, seeking attention mostly from boys or men. I remember also really a strong desire for control. And I can look back at these times and these memories and these experiences as attempts of regulation. I'm looking for things outside of myself, even at that very young age, to soothe what's happening on the inside, because all of this upheaval and turmoil and now poverty in the mix of it, and a mother who was emotionally unavailable and a father who was quite literally physically unavailable. He was still in Calgary. I was grappling for control to the point where I shared a room with my sister, and I was so controlling. My room had to be so clean. And this is probably where my first inkling of perfectionism came in. I drew a tape line down the middle of our room. And I told I told my sister, "You you can live how you wanna live over there. But on my side of the room, no, 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 no. Everything must be clean, everything must be perfect, everything has a place." And if it wasn't, I felt chaotic. I felt, chaos in the inside of me. And I remember my sister thinking I was completely nuts. But I didn't care because I needed some semblance of control. I needed to know that I had a safe space. And for me, cleaning my room gave me that. And so that really sparked something in me. This need for control, this need to achieve perfection. Because you see, if I could control my environment, if I could control what was happening around me and what I let touch me, I'd be okay. And if I could just find the right person to give me the right amount of attention, I would be okay, that I could handle what was happening in life. So this continued, this way of living for me, this anxiety driven perfectionism and control. And I went into high school, and I remember in grade 8, my older brother was at this high school I was going, Beale, and if you know London and all, it was Beale. And so my brother took me for like the career day or like the check out high school day. I forget what it was called. And I saw a boy. And well, at that time, obviously he was a man. To me, he was a full grown man because he was in high school and I was in grade 8. And and I thought, "Oh, wow, he is so handsome." And my brother immediately says, "Listen, when you come here, you stay away from that guy." So, being the good alcoholic that I am, I beelined right for the thing I'm not supposed to have. So when I got to grade 9, I immediately had a crush on this guy. but he was way older and didn't notice me. So again, quickly looking for control, quickly looking for things outside of myself to soothe myself. I dated, tried to find again anybody to help me to not be like my parents, not be like my mom, not be like my dad. That's when I first remember having those thoughts. If I can find a good relationship and then I'll be happy and then I won't be like my parents. That was the first time I promised myself I won't be like my parents. I know none of you have probably ever said that to yourselves before. I'm definitely unique in that. I know. I know. I'm sorry, guys. Chronically, actually, unique. Uh, and so this would happen all through grade 9, dated a few boys. Shockingly, none of them made me happy. None of them made me feel better about myself. I would cross boundaries. I would violate my own internal boundaries and values to make them like me, to make me happy and make me better. But inevitably, I couldn't control them, so I couldn't be happy. But then this boy that I met in grade 8, guess what, guys? He noticed me. He noticed me, and I thought, "Oh, this is it. This is really gonna make my life better." And his name was, or still is, I assume, Roberto. And I mean, with a name like that, I mean, how could you not fall in love? And and so we started dating. And I just thought, this is the answer to all of my problems. This very handsome, sporty, confident Latino. Well, he's nothing like my dad. Nothing. He's the opposite of my dad. So this must be the answer. So Roberto and I started dating, and I was cautious, of course, and he fell head over heels with me, obviously, and is telling me within a few weeks he loves me. In a couple months, he's asking me to marry him, and I was like, "Dude, like, I like you, but chill out. Like, I mean, you're all right, but just pump the brakes." So, 4 months, I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I love you too. Let's get engaged. That'll be I'm great." Oh, I was 17, by the way. 17. "Yeah, let's get engaged. Let's do that. That's a good idea." So we get engaged. It's great. Life is perfect. He loves me so much. I love him so much. Obviously, we've got it all figured out at the ripe old age of 17, and our lives are perfect. And they're going to be perfect. And we're going to grow up and we're going to have perfect children and a perfect house and a perfect future. And everything's going to be amazing because I'm not going to be like my parents. I did experiment a little bit with alcohol and other substances in high school. But honestly, it wasn't a huge piece of my high school experience, which I know is not super similar for many people. A big portion of that is because by the time August hit on my 17th year, I was pregnant. I got pregnant. Well, not by myself. Roberta was there. And and so now we're gonna have this baby. And I was like, well, that's not ideal. It's not perfect. It's not exactly how we planned it out. But obviously because he's perfect and I'm perfect and we're gonna have a perfect life, this baby's gonna be perfect and this timing is perfect. Because well, what else could it be? Because I'm in control of it all, don't you know? And so his mom wanted us to get married straight away, and I was like, "Oh, no, 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 we'll wait till the baby's born." So what year was that? 1996. May 1996, our first son, Dominic, was born, and I was 18 now at this time, and so we got married when Dominic was 3 months old. So here I am, 18 years old, I'm a mom, we've moved into our own apartment, and we're gonna do this perfectly. We're both gonna be present for our child. I let Roberto know, "By the way, you can't have any alcohol in this house because, well, you're not like my dad, so we can't have that, okay?" And he was willing to allow me to control that and, well, everything else, which was great. It was super convenient for me that he let me be in control of all of that. And and so there we were, living our perfect life, and this little bit of doubt started to creep in that maybe this all isn't so perfect. Maybe there's something missing here. So, at 19 years old, our son is just over 1. I thought, you know what actually is gonna make this perfect is a second kid. So let's have a second kid because that's what's gonna make this perfect. Because, like, having kids and, buying houses and vacations, they make everything better. So so we decided we'll have a second kid. It happened a lot faster than we thought. So now I'm 20, we have a son and we have a daughter. And life is pretty perfect. We have the $1,000,000 family, as they call it. We never got the check. I don't know where that went, but we have the $1,000,000 family. And again, this little wiggly voice, this just isn't perfect enough. There's still something not quite right. There's still something missing here. Well, you know what it was is, well, my family we weren't religious growing up. So that's the thing. Guys, we knew that our life wasn't quite perfect because, well, we weren't going to church, and that's what perfect is, right? Like you go to church and you be good, and then life is perfect. So we started to go to church, and I don't know about you, but I don't do anything half-assed. I go all in. Like there's no middle. Like it's all. We do it all or nothing, right? And so we go to church, and we're there for a couple of years, and I thought, well, I'm just going to be a pastor then. Because, well, what would make me more perfect? What would make my life and my family more perfect? And what would give me the most control? And what would make me the most not like my mom or my dad? Well, obviously, becoming Pastor Sara. That's what. And so I did. And so for almost a decade, I became Pastor Sara. We had a third kid during that time. And guys, it's wild. This is going to come as a shock to you. I still didn't feel complete. I still didn't feel whole. And you see, this church that we were part of was extremely conservative. I won't say the denomination, but it might rhyme with Pentecostal. And this was the church we were part of. And the one we were a part of was extremely conservative. Women could never be the leader. They had to submit under a man, and you don't drink alcohol, and you don't have sex before marriage, and you don't lust over anyone. There's a big list of don'ts. There's a lot that you don't do. So obviously I check. I was crushing it, guys. I was crushing this perfection. It was so amazing. And it was so heavy. The truth is, it was exhausting. I couldn't control anything. And so there was this new liberal movement in the church where a few of the young folks were having wine. And I thought, oh yeah, let's just have a little bit of that. Like this is hard. Life is hard. Raising kids and being married, man, it's like fighting for your life every single day. Let's have a glass of wine. And from that first glass in my late 20s, there was never a time when I was satisfied with one. Never. I would have one, but only because there was nothing left, or we were out somewhere and I couldn't let people see me drinking as a pastor. Guys, that would be not perfect. So I couldn't do that. And so here I am holding on to everything with all of my might, trying to uphold this perfect life. You know, I'm raging at my kids on the way to church. And then when we get out of the car, we're like, God bless you. Good morning. Yes, everything's great and perfect. Don't look over here. Look at this hand, not this one over here as I beat my kids. Like it was awful. It was awful. My existence was awful. My kids' existence was awful. And the more I tried to hold it all together, the more I drank. And then someone took a metaphorical grenade and threw it into the middle of my life. My oldest son came out and told us he was gay, which is not a problem. But you see, for a pastor who's Pentecostal, that was a big fat problem. And then my daughter started struggling with her mental health. She struggled with thoughts of wanting to unalive and took action at times. And I'm holding on by a thread. I'm holding on by dental floss at this point, guys. And I can't hold it together. And I'm like, God, WTF, W, capital T, capital F. I gave you everything, my life, my kids, my career, all of it. Where are you at, homie? Because this sucks. And the more angry I got with God, and the more I tried to save control, fix my kids, the more I had to drink to cope. And I still was pastoring. I would get up in the morning, hungover as hell, pop a couple Advil, a couple black coffees, and go to church and plan youth programs or preach or teach Sunday school or whatever it was. And I remember one time one of my youth's mom asked me, "Have you been drinking?" Now, I hadn't that day, but I probably had enough in me from the night before that I could have been considered to have been drinking that day. And I was offended that she would ask me. The nerve. How dare she? How dare she see what's actually going on? This went on. This went on for about 5-6 years. And I decided the problem was not the drinking. The problem was church. The problem was pastoring because I couldn't live up to this perfect standard, and I couldn't any longer tell my son that it was not okay for him to be who he was. I couldn't live in those spaces anymore. I couldn't believe that what was happening with my daughter was a result of sin or my son. I could not live under that anymore. But I wasn't quite ready to leave Christian ministry. So I moved to like a church adjacent uh, thing where I worked, and I was a youth program director, and again, more control, more drinking, more suffering, more inability to manage my life internally. I I got to be honest, like I'm one of the alcoholics, the yet people. It didn't get to the point where I lost everything. It didn't get to the point where I had a catastrophic rock bottom. So I'm externally functioning. I'm living life. I'm crushing my job actually. I'm building a program, and I'm building these community initiatives for kids who are struggling, parents who are struggling, and then I go home and I'm struggling. And here I am trying to help people put the fires out in their life, and then I go home and pour gasoline on mine. And and then the one thing I did forget to mention while we were in church, we adopted a kid because obviously, as like good Christians, we're going to obviously adopt a kid because that's what you do. I don't know if you guys knew that. So if you're going to become Christian, you have to adopt a kid. I'm kidding. Some people may not love my sense of humor. Sorry if you don't. I'm not sorry. So we adopted a kid. And we adopted a kid whose biological parents we adopted through CAS here in London, Children's Aid Society, and her biological parents were in active addiction so severely that they could not care for their child, and she became a crown ward, and so we adopted her. And so here we are thinking we're these beautiful, amazing people who are saving this kid from these awful people who are choosing substances over their kid. Like, can you guys imagine people doing that? But we saved her, obviously. And so here we are with these 4 kids, our lives blown up. There's shrapnel and debris everywhere. But when you go outside, everybody smile. Life is perfect. And then one day, I'm driving along in the car with my husband, and I'm complaining about how stressful my day was and how hard everything was and how hard our life is. And I'm leaving out a lot of the, details. There was periods of time where our adult she wasn't an adult, she was 15, 16, 17 at the time. Our oldest daughter was hospitalized for months at a time, 6 months, 8 months. She was really, really unwell. But we didn't tell anyone because, well, we couldn't let people know. It was so much. It was so much to bear, so much to hold, so much to keep in, so much to keep quiet, so much to keep perfect. There was no tape down the middle of the room that was going to make this better, guys. None. So we're driving along, and I'm complaining. And my little girl must have been 7 at the time, 7 or 8. Yeah, 7 or 8. Actually 8. And she says, "Oh, Dad, Mom had a bad day. We should go get her a bottle of wine." You might as well have just punched me in the face in that moment. And I thought, "Oh my God, we're just teaching her a different way to do addiction. What am I doing?" Now, I contemplated it over those, the last couple of years. Maybe I have a problem. Maybe I'm drinking too much. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm only gonna drink on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That it doesn't work, in case you didn't know. Because you decide on Sunday night with a belly full of alcohol that you're not gonna drink on Monday. It's easy when your belly's full. Super easy. It's like, I'm gonna diet tomorrow after I just ate a whole cheesecake. Easy. I can make that commitment then. But then I'd wake up Monday morning, and the weight of the world was on my chest. My son's not being accepted. My daughter is fighting for her life. My youngest daughter thinks alcohol is how you cope with a stressful day. My marriage is hanging on by a thread. Like, uh, it's okay. I can do it though. I can do it. I can stay sober until noon. And then by noon, I knew what store I was going to pick it up. I couldn't go to the same store, guys. People would know. So I had to go to a different store every time. But by noon, I had planned it out. I was never able to stick to any commitment I made about moderating my drinking. I could never just have one. I could never just drink one day. I could more. Addiction for me was unsatiable. And I suspect the reason you're here is because it's the same for you. My hunger, my desire for alcohol was insatiable. I could not satisfy. Never. I could never satisfy. So I'd love to tell you that that day in the car when she said this to me, I quit. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I drank for another month. And then I quit for a month. And then we went on vacation. And I did not stay sober for that week. And I came home and I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. June 29th, 2019. That was the day. I woke up back home after our vacation. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of suffering, and I'm tired of the additional suffering that alcohol is bringing into my life. And that was the last day. That is my first sober day, June 29th, 2019. And I told no one. I told no one. After maybe a week or two, I told my husband. After another week, I told my best friend. And then I told no one. And I white knuckled it. And I had all of the physical experiences. I couldn't sleep. I was irritable. I was anxious. I was an emotional mess. But I still had to be perfect. Just before I decided to finally make this step, I went back to school because life wasn't hard enough. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to university in the middle of all of that, in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the struggles and the drinking and everything. I'm going to go back to university. And I decided I'm going to be a social worker because people need social workers because I watched how they help my daughter. So I need to be a social worker because I need to help people. I need to do something meaningful. And so I went back to school. And it was actually while I was still in university that's when I quit. And at first, it wasn't this program. I got to be honest with you. It wasn't this program that helped me at first. It was just avoidance. And I was able to do it for 7 months. And then I had heard that this guy I worked with was an alcoholic. And so we would have coffee sometimes. And so I met with him one time and I was like, so I want to tell you something. And I'm an alcoholic. It was like it was a secret. I don't know why. I was like, I knew that he was an alcoholic, but I was so scared to say it out loud to anyone. And he was so excited. I was like, what the hell is he excited about? And he said, well, what meeting do you go to? And I said, what meeting do I go? What are you talking about? He's like, AA. I can go to AA? He said, what do you mean? I thought AA was for old white guys. What do you mean I can go to AA? He's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, nothing. He's like, I'm picking you up. We're going to an AA meeting. So he took me to my first AA meeting. Fun fact, I had a travel mug. But you see, my travel mug was one of those insulated stemless wine glasses. And so I went to my first AA meeting with a insulated stemless wine glass with a lid on it. I had no idea. I had no clue. I don't know what people thought of me that day. And immediately went in and it was overwhelming. Tuesday North's a pretty big meeting. I was really overwhelmed. And then they made me go upstairs with all of these other people and they made me read out of this stupid book and I hated every minute of it. I was like, this is BS. I already left the cult I was in. I don't want another one. This sucks. I thought, but I'm going to try it out because I'm suffering. This is too hard to do it on my own. I need something. I didn't know about treatment. I didn't know about, I could go to AA. I didn't know about any of it. I knew nothing. I don't know if it was because I was blind to it. I didn't want to see it. I was too afraid to be like my dad. I don't know, but I just didn't know. I didn't know about these things. And the more I went, the more it grew on me. I got a sponsor and we took the elevator through the steps. I did it real fast, real quick, like it was a task. Check, 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 check. Okay, I'm done. I'm graduated. Where's my certificate? Give me the chip. I'm done. So I had my 1 year during COVID. It was in a parking lot. We had individually wrapped Joe Louis, I think, instead of cake, which was devastating for me because I love cake. And I left AA. I thought, this isn't for me. I can't do it. But at the same time, when I was in school, I decided that I want to help people with addiction. I don't want to just be a social worker. So I switched my major to addictions. And then I wanted to get a job in the field of addictions. And here in London, most jobs in the field of addictions they're a component of 12-step, all of them. And I thought, well, if I'm going to work in this field, I guess I better try this out. And I decided to give it a real honest shot. And so in 2022, I came back to AA. And I came back to AA with an open heart. My friend once told me, go into AA like you would the grocery store. You don't have to put everything in your shopping cart. But you also don't have to get pissed off because they're selling salmon. If you don't wanna buy the salmon, just don't put it in your cart, but you don't need to be mad that they're selling it. And so that's how I looked at AA. I really struggled with the God thing because my association with God had created so much pain in my family, in my kids, and in my life, and I just I didn't want any part of that. But the more I hung around, the more I learned, got a new sponsor, really did the steps and integrated them into my life, not just as a task that had to be completed, but as a design for living. I really incorporated them. And what's amazing is that this hard shell around that piece of my heart that was like, F God, started to warm up. The ice started to thaw. And I thought, maybe I could give this God thing a try again, but on different terms. Maybe it doesn't have to be archaic and misogynistic and homophobic. Maybe it could be safe. And so I started to be open and I started to allow faith to come back in and hope to come back in. And that never would have happened if I did not have the program of AA, if I did not have the rooms of AA to hear how other people found hope in their higher power, how other people found sobriety through their relationship with their higher power, how people found sobriety and freedom and peace through AA and through their connection to their higher power. And so I let it in. I let higher power in. My heart was wide open. And I thought, I want pieces of the old life that I had, pieces of that piece of community that I had when I was in that particular church. But you see, it's hard to find a community that didn't encompass some of those other things. But I found one. And because of AA, I was willing. I was willing to be open to that. So now I'm a part of a community here in London that is safe for everyone. And they even give me the microphone sometimes and let me preach. And I said to them, I'll take it, but I want you to know that every time I'm going to talk about addiction, every time I'm going to talk about the hope that there is in recovery and how this program can help people. So if you don't want me to say that into a microphone, don't give it to me. Because every time I will talk about it in one way or another. And so AA, the steps, the people, the hope, the community, I fought it for so long. I didn't want any of it because you see, it required me to give up control. The reason I didn't want God, the reason I didn't want to go to AA is because I wanted to be in control. I wanted to do sobriety on my terms. I wanted to be better. I wanted to do it perfectly. That stuck with me. And every once in a while, it still creeps up. But when I really let that idea go, when I was really willing to admit I was powerless, when I was really willing to admit that I needed the people in the rooms and I needed this higher power that everyone talked about, and that I needed someone to tell me what to do, which is, if you knew me, not easy for me. And AA gave it all. It gave it all to me. I'm still active in AA in many different ways. And I'm very active in the addiction community because once I finished school, I opened up my own addiction counseling practice here in London. And 10% of my caseload is pro bono for people that need a little extra along with their program if they're in AA. Sometimes people need a little extra support, a little bit digger, deeper of a dig. And I'm so grateful to be able to do that. And AA has given me all of that. AA has helped me not be divorced. AA has helped me to communicate. AA has helped me to look in the mirror to recognize that I'm not perfect and that's okay. AA has given me the ability to meet people I never would have had the privilege to meet. AA has given me the ability to sit in my office and tell a person when they come to me for help, hey, I am you and you are me. There's no power imbalance here. I've got a little bit of education. Yeah, I do. But you're not a failure. And there's hope. And I get all of that from AA. Also, AA has been has been like the peeling back the layers of an onion. And, as we heal, or as I like to say it, reconnect these parts back to ourselves, because I don't think we need to heal because we're broken. I think we need to heal because we're disconnected from ourselves. So as I heal and I'm reconnecting to myself, I realize there's other layers. And this desire for control, there's a 12-step group for that. This desire for attention and affection, there's a 12-step group for that. And I qualify for all of them. And I'm restoring these parts. I'm healing, reconnecting to these parts of me. And it's equal parts beautiful and equal parts painful. But you know what? I wouldn't change it for the world. Addiction is the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's better than my husband, and he's really great, and he's really handsome, and he works out, and he smells nice, and he's kind and loving and sweet. Addiction is better than that. And I'm going to tell you why. And addiction is better than my kids. It's better than that happening to me. I'm a grandma, by the way. Addiction is better than being a grandma. And I'll tell you why. Because addiction has forced me to look at myself. Addiction has given me the motivation I needed to look at me and to heal these parts of myself, to go into these rooms, to have these conversations, and to heal and connect those parts of my life. Addiction is what brought me in to AA. It is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I used to hate it when people would say, I'm a grateful alcoholic. I wanted to stand up and tell them to kick rocks or something a little more colorful than that. I would hate it when people would say that. But now I'm her, guys. I'm that person. I'm a grateful alcoholic because I have this beautiful life as a result. I don't think that I think I could go into all kinds of off-roads here, but really life was hard. It got really hard. And then I found hope in these rooms. And now my life is exponentially better than it ever was. And I can forgive my parents. And see, when you have this program, you can go through the death of your parents. You can go through the most horrific things, the most heart-wrenching things in your life, and you don't have to drink over it. That's what this program has given me. Thank you so much for I know I'm a little bit early. Thank you so much for inviting me to come here today and to share my story. It's an absolute privilege to have spent this time with you. Thank you.
Just a quick reminder to subscribe, like, or follow if you like the show on any of your favorite listening platforms. If you like the speakers and other content on the podcast, please show us some love by leaving a review and consider making a PayPal contribution to help keep the show going at paypal.me/A Shotglass of Recovery. Every dollar makes a difference, and we thank you. Our speakers come from my AA home group, AA Solution Seekers. We meet every day at 7 a.m., so pop in sometime and say hello. Until next time, thanks for joining me on A Shotglass of Recovery.
Everything you do, the answer lies inside you.